Hello and good night. Welcome to Mindful Live 383. I am your co-host. Of course not Jiggles. I am your co-host, Nathan Springer, joined by my host, Diora Lois Springer. Say hi. We're chilling out on a Monday evening, Monday the 22nd. The month is well along, nearly to the end of April here. In the year of our Lord 2024, in the land of Trinidad and Tobago, the paradise that apparently doesn't really exist. We aren't really a real place. Ronnie, someone said hi. Ronnie. Leora, someone said hi, baby. Yes, people. This evening tonight we're jumping off talking about honey. It was a request that someone in the live was asking me about all week last week, and I actually did a bit of reading and listening on the topic, and something strange seems to be going on. It seems like there may be a genesis of it, though. There may be a reason why the government is enacting this honey bill that is bothering a lot of the local beekeepers. There may be good might be a relative word here, but a very real reason why the government is doing that and why they may, in a sense, have to do it. They may, in a sense, have to do it. And it might have something to do with CARICOM and the agreements we made in joining CARICOM. So, for the Beekeepers Association, we could be listening and looking carefully at what agreements we get in joining things like CARICOM. As good as some parts of it might be, there are some sides that are not so. Let's see if we could jump into that. Contraband honey comes in by the barrels every day. I wouldn't doubt that, but contraband honey coming in by the barrels is still separate from allowing legal import. Contraband honey, at least people have to hide and sell that. Legal import is the kind of thing that goes into the grocery front aisle and replaces the local sellers. Generally speaking, contraband cannot fully replace the local sellers unless we have a government that overtly greenlights the black market. And our government may allow certain things on the black market, but they don't. It's not official government policy that black market goods are to be run through Trinidad and Tobago. That's not official government policy. So the contraband, it's not like, yes, car wash, I was. It's not like the contraband is going to be able to put the local honey makers out of business. Blessed good night, Vibesy. Blessed good night. So the real problem is with the legal honey. What the amendment proposes to bring into play. Amendment to Beekeeping Act sours local honey industry. But Amendment to Beekeeping Act sours local honey industry. The news of potential legislation that will amend the law restricting the importation of honey in TNT has stung local beekeepers. Oh, look at them with their puns. Sours local honey industry has stung local beekeepers. Get on, Mr. Ryan Bachu. Dalip Jaram says, you and the little girl, Ronnie asks you and the little girl. No, I did not. Dalip says, no hiding and selling in apiaries. Number is printed on the label, not necessarily a legit number. Oh, you mean the contraband? Nonetheless, still. It's not going to replace all of the local sellers. Contraband is not going to. Kawash says, I was telling my cousin I know you from somewhere. Yeah, man. Can I give me a shout? It first broke when TNT's High Commissioner to Guyana, Conrad Enel, revealed last November that the legislation would be tabled in Trinidad's parliament. Now, this article goes through a lot, but nothing in the article, to me, really points out, thank you, sir, thank you for tagging him, Pharaoh Apiaries. Yet nothing in the article, to me, really points out where these people were having their biggest grouse. It doesn't seem like they highlighted the major grouses that these people were having. This article spoke about climate change and deforestation and all of that kind of stuff. But the local beekeepers aren't talking about that in regards to this bill. Vibesy says, I believe it's an opportunity for them to bring in sugar contraband to fool the populace. Well, that's part of the issue that the beekeepers are having. The beekeepers are saying that basically there isn't good testing going on in Trinidad right now. There aren't proper facilities, equipment, and technology and ability for proper testing in Trinidad right now. So they're asking, how on earth are you going to allow imports of honey to come in the country when you cannot test it when it arrives? So what kind of honey are you going to bring in if you do not have the adequate testing equipment? How are you going to test that it's not contaminated, because contaminated honey could come in here and spread disease? That it's not watered down, because there was a problem coming out of China with that same thing, where the Chinese, I believe it was the United States, Canada, and a couple other countries stopped importing honey. Those big first world countries, they say, you see this honey import business, let we done this. Let we cut this out. Cut. Why? The Chinese were saying, oh, you all want to import honey. Well, we will give you honey as much as you like. And they, on an industrial scale, were making sugar water to get into a little bit of honey and sending that across the world. Now, these things are very tempting. They are an alluring temptation. Because, okay, I could buy a barrel of Chinese sugar water and break it down into bottles upon bottles of honey. And the barrel of sugar water, let's say it's going to cost me $100 US, if so much. How am I to resist that? If I am a greedy man, how am I to resist that? I know, like, by the time you catch me, this month, I bring in a couple barrels of the sugar water. I label it Magnificent Honey, and I want Magnificent 100% pure imported honey. I sell that out. I sell a couple thousand bottles. Somebody is going to figure this honey little bad enough. What's the name? Magnificent. No. We're not buying Magnificent again. Next month, what you don't know is I import another couple barrels and slap on a new label. This one is labeled Wonderful 100% pure imported honey. And I do the same thing again. Tight Asset says you cannot bring honey into Trinidad. Well, Tight Assets, I think you won't hear from the beginning of this live, because that is literally what we're talking about here. The amendment to the Beekeeping Act that is getting a lot of the local beekeepers very antsy. Getting the beekeepers antsy. Slaps knee. But it is about allowing the import of foreign honey now. That is literally what they're dealing with now. And the problem they're seeing is the license, I think, if I remember hearing correctly. And that's why I find it strange that I am not finding much written articles that clearly outline the complaints that the beekeepers are having. There aren't much written articles. They are allowed some interviews on the television, but if you miss that live, you aren't going to see that again. But their complaints seem very sound. The price for the license to import, I think, is very cheap. Good night, X and Pi. The price is very cheap. The punishment for bringing in fake honey, I think, is a minor punishment. While the punishments given to the local beekeepers for transgressing various acts, various parts of the law, is $100,000 fine. If they keep the bees in natural hives without removable, what you call them? I'm not a beekeeper, as I said before. Without those removable parts, that's $100,000 fine. The act prohibits the importation of honey, but it's going to be changed. It has long been a contentious issue at the regional level, which goes against the Treaty of Chaguaramas signed in 1973, which created a Caribbean single market and economy. So you see, we were protecting our local honey producers. Hey, look at that. We were protecting our local honey producers, but actually, it was transgressing the Treaty of Chaguaramas that we signed. And what we're going to do about that? That's actually the treaty. CARICOM says Guyana's honey woes are not being ignored. This is a story from last year, June. The Caribbean community has sought to assure the producers of honey in Guyana that their concerns about the exportation of their products are not being ignored. This is according to the Director of External Trade at CARICOM Secretariat's Directorate of the Caribbean Single Market and Economy. He said... They said he was speaking at a breakfast. Then Guyanese honey producers say they are facing substantial difficulties exporting locally made honey into the Caribbean because of laws in Trinidad and Tobago that block transshipment. Trinidad and Tobago's honeybees and bee products are guided by the island's age-old Food and Drug Act, and as per the country's Beekeeping and Bee Products Act, only honey originating from the Windward and Leeward Islands can be transshipped to the Twin Island Republic. The country initially restricted the importation of honey from Grenada and other Caribbean countries over concerns about potentially disastrous disease of honeybees, the American foulbrood disease. However, Grenada took the issue to court in 2013, and the council decided that Trinidad's denial of market access was in violation of the treaty. So we must allow them in. The Guyanese president, this was also last year, he said, "We can't give up. President Ali believes Trinidad will soon address long-standing honey issue." I'm just giving you all a history of where this honey issue came up from and why it's currently an issue. Dalib Jairam says, "We know how consultations go in this country. The new fisheries management bill is crazy." Roni says, "Because it seems like there's no way around this." Chris Scott said, good night. Vibesy. Yeah, it's so, I don't deny that some of it may actually be some of that interest in monopolizing a market. So we might be curious to try to find out who may have registered a new honey import business. If there are any local companies that are currently setting themselves up to corner a honey import market, we could probably look at that. But we can't just blindly say that it's obviously all a government grab for monopoly, because it was something that the government seemed to have been holding off for a while, but it's something that we agreed to by joining CARICOM. Guyana for several years has found it difficult exporting its honey into the Caribbean because of transshipment restrictions in Trinidad and Tobago. But the president believes that the issue will soon be addressed. While speaking on the sidelines of an event on that day, President Ali reminded reporters that the honey issue has been raised within CARICOM, and he noted that Trinidadian Prime Minister committed to addressing the issue. This was June last year. So you're wondering where it came from. So to some extent, it may directly be at a result of Guyana's pressing. Guyana's pressing may have had some direct effect on this. And maybe in this we could see the increased weight of Guyana in terms of as a negotiating partner. I think Guyana wanted this for decades now. Ronnie, don't do this. I'm pretty certain Guyana wanted this for years now. But they were only able to successfully get Trinidad and Tobago to make this law now. I wouldn't be surprised if some of it is Guyana's increased bargaining power. Now that they have found a lot of oil, they have a lot more bargaining power in terms of what they ask for. So when they ask for us to trade with their honey now, it's not as easy to brush them off as it may have once been. And then in Guyana, they first reported this amendment. Bear this in mind. This amendment that is now, since the last 2 months or so, becoming very serious and a major topic among Trinidadian beekeepers. Listen when they reported this. Trinidad to amend law to remove honey importation restrictions. This is what our High Commissioner said. And this was an article out of Guyana since last year, October 4th. The beginning of October last year. Our High Commissioner already gave Guyana the assurance that those importation restrictions were going to be lifted. To me, it seems... Yikes. To me, it seems pretty clear that Guyana may have had a significant impact in this whole honey business. That seems pretty obvious to me. Guyana wanted to be able to get a proper market for their honey, and they asked, and we obliged. To me, though, like I like a free market, but I also understand the idea of protectionism. I understand why local countries protect their markets too. Because if we just leave ourselves open to the unbridled sways of an open international free market, we will almost exclusively be customers and consumers. And it is in a country's interest to attempt to properly utilize their own resources. So it may be in a country's interest to at least allow for some products to be mostly sourced locally. I could understand that. Now, if in the local sense, and to me this seems to be accurate in the local honey business, in the local sense, there isn't an inhibition on the free market. Ronnie says, let ExxonMobil sell their honey in USA. Don't do our Guyanese neighbors that now. Yeah. If the local market, and it seemed like that to me, had pretty good competition, then we have that sales price competition already there in the local market, and I don't have a problem with that. To allow foreign honey to come in, would they be able to compete? And then with the complaint that many of these honey producers are having, they're saying that the law itself, the amendment itself, seems to purposefully aim at them while leaving a lot of wiggle room for importers. So like it's aiming to squeeze on them while allowing the importers a lot more free rein. And I find that interesting. That seems very curious to me, because as a country we regularly talk about local producers and local manufacturing and trying to encourage such things. And this is doing just that. So like, I understand the CARICOM considerations. I understand that. But to me, it seems like there weren't enough local considerations. It seems, and this is something that I find as an opinion, I see regularly in our governing style. It seems like this was all at an elite level. The Guyanese leaders said we need this, our local leaders said, well, we could give them that, and they gave them it. Forgetting that this isn't a monarchy. Dr. Rowley isn't King Dr. Rowley. He is Prime Minister. Minister means a servant. You are there to minister to the people, to administer our desires. So it's not just up to what Guyana asks for in terms of trading. I would hope that there is some consultation going on with the locals. As far as I heard, the Beekeepers Association said there was one consultation sometime last year, and it seems like very little of the input that was given by the Beekeepers Association was taken on board. And that's that. Take that in your pipe and smoke it. Dalip Jaram says, just like it had dashing police a few weeks ago, there are honey police too, no lie. I wouldn't doubt that. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. But besides trying to trap us in with, you know, like I watch this and it's interesting to me, where you see what governments protect and what they allow competition in. So they're allowing foreign competition now among the local honey producers. But remember, they were protecting the Mexican cement producers, because the Mexican cement producers happen to have some local workers. They threw out a whole other cement company just to protect that Mexican cement company. So, you know, it's interesting where the protection happens. It's very interesting where they put that protection. When Uber was coming in and putting some taxis under strain, they did something about that. Netflix's popularity comes at a cost. And listen, I hope they aren't looking at this to try and do something about that. Guardian's article, Netflix's popularity comes at a cost. Personally, I find them too fast. This ain't all your business. What are you doing in we business? What you doing in we business? TNT is still very much into Netflix and chill. However, the popular streaming platform's popularity is silently a significant extractor of local foreign exchange, with TNT subscribers spending millions of US dollars annually to maintain their accounts. Listen, I find this insulting. So, the small fry TNT Chinese spending 10 US dollars per month to get a little respite from the cable providers that are trying to strangle us with the nonsense channels at ridiculous prices. Because we could get a little respite from that and allow the children to watch a little Netflix Kids or something. You find that's foreign exchange bothersome. That's foreign exchange bothersome. I wonder if we look at the ways the wealthier people spend their foreign exchange. Like, when Dr. Rowley went to Ireland to do some golfing, it's Ireland he went to do some golfing. I wonder how much US dollars left the shores of Trinidad and Tobago and was spent outside of Trinidad and Tobago over that one trip. And many trips as such. I'm not even talking here, highlighting here about the cost to the taxpayer. That's not what I'm talking about. They are making this a foreign exchange issue. So how much foreign exchange is used in the entertainment of the wealthy class? I am 100% certain. I am 100% certain the wealthy class in Trinidad spends more US dollars on their entertainment than the 10 US dollars people spend on their Netflix bill. Just the fact that they raised this has me bothered. Local telecoms expert Kwesi Prescott said no one but Netflix and its shareholders knows how many households in TNT subscribe to the streaming service, which reported on Thursday a total of 269.6 million subscriptions worldwide at the end of March. But Prescott, a telecommunications consultant, said a conservative estimate of the number of TNT households subscribing to Netflix could easily exceed 200,000. You see again, all you're too fast. Why you need to know how many Trini households subscribing to Netflix? Listen, the nature of Trinidad and Tobago, I'm just letting all of you know, those guys who are afraid of central bank digital currency and that kind of stuff, I'm just letting you know, if the PNM is in power in this country, we are running into the central bank digital currency. Those people love to know everything you do in all aspects of your life. This is the problem people have with a digital currency. With a digital currency, they won't even have to wonder how many Netflix subscriptions there are. They know exactly how much you pay all the time. Given broadband penetration is 94% according to the Telecommunications Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, excuse me, and conservatively assuming even 50% are Netflix subscribers, that means the number of subscribers could be 200,000, said Prescott. Notably, Jamaica's subscription number was said to be 150,000 in 2022. Prescott said Prescott based his calculations of the penetration of Netflix in TNT on the premise that evidence suggests that most of the households that have broadband access are accessing these streaming services. Just so you know, everyone with access to Netflix isn't paying a Netflix subscription. Prescott said Prime, Disney Plus, Hulu Max, and Paramount are also available to local subscribers, and these streaming services could attract another 100,000 TNT households. Based on his conservative estimate, yada yada yada, global tech giants dominate usage. The popularity of streaming services in TNT is borne out by data provided by local telecommunications companies. According to data provided by Amplia in February 2024, almost 50% of internet traffic was commanded by three major players in global tech: Google, Netflix, and Facebook. Google, which owns YouTube, commanded 16.5% of the traffic, with Netflix slightly behind at 16%, while Facebook with 15% trailed. So YouTube, Netflix, and then Facebook. That's our usage information, it would seem. Amplia confirmed that throughout the 3 months, Netflix usage largely peaked in the evening hours of 8 p.m. and 10 p.m., with the typical peak usage of Netflix being approximately 28 gigabytes per second. Let me see. I'm looking for something specific here. Regional. Regional telecoms want fair share. Netflix's subscription model, absent the ties seen by Disney Plus and Max to local providers, underlined one of the concerns raised by the C9 that the company benefits from using local resources with little return. The C9 is a Canto working group of Caribbean telecommunications providers advocating for fair share, as the group is concerned that while these companies have consistently been reaping financial benefits in the regional telecommunications networks are seeing little to no returns from them. So the local telecommunications companies want a bite of your money too. Now, let me explain to me how I see these things going. It's only going to increase the price of the subscription if they do that, because Netflix is going to take their Netflix cut. And now they're going to want a cut too. Listen, that annoys me so much. And you know why it annoys me? It reminds me of something that I heard Mr. Imbert talking about. Was it the last? Word up, word up. Was it the last budget he was talking about that? Or the one previously where he was talking about they wanted to create producers in Trinidad and Tobago, and they don't want people to just import things and bring it down and sell it and thing and that. Do think about it and make something local and produce. But they are doing that same thing. They are just importing things, bringing it down and selling it to the local population and making millions of dollars. And they lock that market in to allow no one else to be able to do that. So they have the easiest money. They aren't creating anything. They aren't doing any real service. Anybody could bring in something and sell it. We don't even need some of these local companies to do it. The only reason they have a business model is because the government forces us into using some of them. Yes, Anwar. Omatic. So they aren't interested in the end product for the customer here. If you notice, they aren't talking about, okay, well, Netflix is abusing the Caribbean customers, so we want to change the arrangement with Netflix so that the customers get the best deal. No, that's not what they're talking about. They want a piece of the pie. Why? A business as a successful business model that the customers are content paying for. What is your business to get involved in this? Thank you, Anwar. Such a deep conversation. We're living in a democracy. I doubt one could do anything other than tax imports. There are many things that a government could do to sway imports, etc. Now, this is talking about Netflix. Netflix, that you don't even need to get into the direct import and taxing import because there aren't any physical goods coming into the country. And the Netflix is connected through the platform of your local telecommunications provider. So it's easy for them to get, as it were, a filter in right there to suck something out right before you get into Netflix. It's not a very hard thing in that case. But governments could do a lot even on the physical importation side. That's what we were talking about with the honey, for example, at the beginning here. For a very long time, we had importation of honey banned. That's a thing you could do. You could, as they did with rock hard cement, you could increase the duty so the person has to pay, as it were, a higher tax. Then you could decrease the quota. You could say you could only bring in X amount per month. And okay, we know that in order for this good to be profitable, so you increase the tax and you decrease the quota. And this good at the tax rate that TNT government, let's say the good is hats. At the tax rate that TNT government is taxing right now, for me to bring in this hat and sell it at a profit, I need to bring in 100,000 hats and sell them, and then I make my profit. My business plan works. So, okay, they increase the duty, but I up my imports and I sell 100,000 hats and I'm good. But then, yes, it does stay in the realm of democracy, KP. Democracy isn't that the government cannot do things. Democracy is that the people give the government the authority. But after the people give the government the authority, the government has the authority to enact policies. And what the next thing they do, okay, I could bring in 100,000 hats and I'll sell. But then they see that and they don't want me bringing in those hats. So, and in a democracy, what I'm doing isn't illegal, so they can't arrest me and stop me like that necessarily. So what they'll do, they already increase the duty, the taxes. They'll say, well, we don't want to increase the taxes anymore. Let's increase the quotas. So decrease the quotas. So they decrease the quota for cotton beanie hats to only 30,000 can be imported per month. So I could still go out there and import 30,000 and pay the duties. But they understand that that amount at that price is not profitable. And therefore they squeezed me out of the market. That's how they did it to Rock Hard. RL says the local telecom provider have been saying for years their bandwidths aren't maxed out though, which is why Flow Digital TSTT increased rates every year. Listen, I keep saying, the moment, and I'll say it again, the moment something like Starlink becomes feasible, I have zero loyalty to these local companies. TSTT is the company that you would assume you may have had the most loyalty to because they are supposed to be mostly state-owned, but they don't run like that. They don't give you... These companies are not telecommunication companies, especially internet providers and these telecommunication companies especially. To me, when you look at the business model they run, you see it most clearly that what they aim to do is milk you for as much as they can get away with. Before Digicel arrived, TSTT did the most and the worst. When Digicel arrived, TSTT and B-Mobile then tried to balance, TSTT and B-Mobile along with Digicel tried to balance as expensive as they could get it. If Digicel prices raise, B-Mobile are going to raise their prices. The packages they offer, you look at the internet packages that Digicel, TSTT, Flow, Amplia, these people offer. The packages are aimed to trap your money. Like, the packages aren't aimed to offer you a desirable outcome, a desirable product. They are aimed to trap your money. So they will never offer you a minimal package with the things that they know people will want in a minimal package. So they won't give you that minimal cable package and just give you the news, the sports, and one movie. No. The minimal cable package is going to come with 500 channels, one of which you care to see. And they know that. The data business, when you look at how data is calculated and cost on a phone, and you look at that relative to many other places in the world, they are doing us a cruelty, and they know we are trapped in it. So for me, the moment something like Starlink becomes feasible, I'm letting you all know I'm gone, and they aren't getting me back. I'm gone. I might burn the box if I get a chance. Vibesy says, so why doesn't the government regulate these providers and make it economical to the nation? Why would the government do that? Why would the government do that? They don't care to do that. And bear in mind, the government's regulation is why these companies can do it. The government does regulate. There is a Telecommunications Association of Trinidad and Tobago, Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. So the government does regulate, but the regulation is how they do these things. Weren't you just listening when I explained how they got rid of Rock Hard? That was government regulation. And now TCL is raising prices on a 6-month basis. The government is saying, oh, well, we will increase the quotas now. Someone else, please go bring in cement and give competition. So it's not like the government is ignorant of these things, but it doesn't matter. Not to them, at least. Into some police business again. More people suing the police over their po-po. 6 people threaten to sue Commissioner of Police in FUL dispute. A gun dealer and 5 others have served a pre-action protocol letter and the Commissioner of Police over the non-renewal of their firearm users' licenses and deeming of them to be invalid. And imagine that. In a country like ours, where violence is around every corner, we are refusing to renew the FUL license of people who already had it. Not new applications here. These are people who already had their license and they are saying, no, you aren't going to be allowed to renew that license anymore. I know. Yeah. Capitalism at its best. That's not capitalism, you know, Vibesy. That's not capitalism. That's crony capitalism. By the very definition, that's not capitalism. Capitalism, what people call capitalism, I prefer to call it free markets. And that's not a free market. By definition, you aren't freeing the market. By definition, you aren't freeing up the market. And in all of this, with all the violence and all the locking down of markets, don't you dare get your licensed firearm. Crude Oil says that's political victimization with the FUL, if you remember the PM speech on this. And that's interesting. I guess the courts are going to find it out. Because they sent a letter. And it seems like Tanti Erla isn't faring too well in terms of winning these cases, unfortunately. It's just the country paying over and over and over. So it could nearly seem like our government is instituting a policy whereby which the country pays money continually to ensure that legal gun owners cannot own their firearms. Tell me, how does this make sense in a violent criminal country? We are a violent criminal country, but we are paying money on a monthly basis to lose cases and keep fighting the cases to ensure that legal firearm owners can't keep their firearms. How does this make sense? Where is the reasonable sensibility in this? Same thing with property tax. What is the same thing with property tax? Exactly. KP says we all here for a reason. For some reason, Brad Boys come to mind. And it's the police aren't only in some tough waters in regards to their lack of issuance of the FULs. Businessman wants Commissioner of Police to clear his name in police database. The Commissioner of Police is facing legal action from a local businessman accusing the TTPS of storing false and misleading information in its database about him. So this man, a businessman, the one who was shot, he's a gym owner, the gym owner who was shot in St. James, I believe he was shot. He lived, but He has been attempting to get a green card to go to the United States. And when he went for his green card, they told him, there's a database that we have access to where the TTPS put your name and say you're linked to some criminal activities. And because of that, you can't get these official documents. Listen, that was, let me see if I get the date correctly on when that was. That was in 2017. KP says you win some, you lose some, or rather she wouldn't be able to win them all statistically. What you talking about, KP? Why are you fighting these cases? Why do you want to win these cases? What do you mean you win some and you lose some? This isn't soccer. We aren't talking about a game of soccer. We aren't talking football here. We aren't talking basketball. Win some and no. This is crime and criminality in a violent country, the country that we live in. Don't win some and lose some with me. Don't fight these cases. Why are you fighting these cases? I remember we went to the Privy Council. Is law what are you talking about, KP? Really? What are you talking about? Are you just blindly defending right now? I have no idea what exactly you think you're saying here. You aren't forced to do these things. Woi vibesy. Have they found out how the hospital children dying? What I mean how? They already knew how. The how was an infection. I believe a team recently landed to start the full investigation, but the how isn't so mysterious. It was an an infection. It's not super mysterious. I remember when we went to the Privy Council, the law lords up there started buffing the state, asking the state why are they fighting these cases all the way to the Privy Council. The state had a woman where Wassa damaged her house because of a leak. The woman wanted repairs for her house. She won in the lower courts. The state appealed the case all the way to the Privy Council, paying their lawyer friends millions in the process. And geniuses like KP will be like, it's just the law. You win some and you lose some. And millions of our taxpayer dollars jump in. As I say I realize sometimes I assume that people pay taxes. But many of the people who are very happy looking at things happen the way they happen pay no taxes. That's why they are unbothered. KP says Wassa appealed the case. Who do you think runs Wassa, KP? Are you slow? Nick says hospitals write off in the books, missing 100. I don't know what you're talking about, Nick. So the man wants to know, what is this document that the police have my name on, alleging I have criminal links? And they're inhibiting my progress. So I would like you to remove my name from whatever this is. That's kind of worrying that the TTPS could have your name blacklisted in a book, basically, without ever having brought you to court. To me, that's against the spirit of our justice system. Someone isn't supposed to be facing any punishment without having heard their court case. Like, how are you saying you treating me as a guilty person without having proven anything? That doesn't seem to make sense. Hey, let me jump in 2 last stories before I run away here. People don't learn. Folks, let me say it now. Yes, Russian. There's no buyer that wants to buy your goods in East Port of Spain. There is no hookup and link up and secret link and whatever you're thinking about. There's none of that for you to get in East Port of Spain. Ali, listen to this. Listen to this. I wonder if Ronnie went to sleep. Teacher lured, robbed after meeting man on gay dating site. A school teacher was robbed of his car, cash, and cell phones on Sunday after being lured to East Port of Spain by a man he met on the gay grinder dating app. They didn't call the teacher's name, but if your teacher is missing his car and his phones, if you went to school today and your teacher didn't have their car nor their phones, and they have a little movement. A similar incident involving an American citizen occurred last year, also in East Port of Spain. Listen, actually, I know it maybe isn't funny for the guy involved, but I find it kind of very funny that bandit gangsters out here sit down and grinder, tracking men and telling them to come down in the projects in East Port of Spain. Like, you understand? Was he lured or did... Well, I mean, he was lured. To willingly, you could willingly go because you were lured. But I mean, that has to mean that a man out here is giving another man full current and track and lyrics and thing, innit? That means some fella sit down in the projects somewhere on Duncan or George and on his phone tracking level men out there, innit? Pelting track behind. Because listen, I don't believe this is a teacher. I want to give the teacher the benefit of the doubt that they ain't a super stupid person. I don't believe this was only the first conversation. I feel they were talking, like they were talking for a little while. And he get hooked. Police said around 3:30 p.m. Listen, they're doing too much to this teacher. They're doing too much. Listen, if you know who this teacher is, you know who this teacher is. Here additional information they give it. Police said that around 3:30 p.m., the 41-year-old victim from Chaguanas parked his Toyota Fielder wagon near the police administration building, Edward Street, Port of Spain. So they gave a lot of identifying markers for poor old teacher there. He left his wallet with $200 and a First Citizens Bank card in the locked vehicle. He then made his way to Prince Street, Port of Spain, where he met a man who he found on app near Fagu's bar. I think Teach know he was going on a sketchy run too. Look where he parked. He parked by the police building and he left his wallet in his car. Like, so where are you going if you're leaving your wallet in your car? What you going to do? Don't you need your wallet? Or did the other person say that, he had the drinks or whatever, he would pay for the drinks or pay for whatever activity y'all were about to undertake? The man and the suspect then walked into the George Street plannings. So he meet the man by a bar. I feel is a legit gay fella that the George Street fella's working with, you know. I feel there's legitimately a gay fella in the crew. Because this seemed like plenty for a straight fella to be playing around. You meet the man by a bar, tell him let we go back to George Street, you all were walking together along. That seems like a lot to fake, eh? I'm just saying, that's a lot to fake. If you're faking, that's a lot. But the man and the suspect then walked into the George Street plannings. I don't understand. I don't understand. What did you think was going to happen? What was your assumption of how this was all going to go down? You, the 41-year-old man from Shogunas, going downtown, meet a man on Prince Street, take him back to his home in the George Street plannings. And that's your romantic link up, bro? Like, sir. How else was this supposed to end beside robbery? After they walked into the George Street plannings, the teacher was approached by 6 men. One of them withdrew a gun with which the man dealt him several blows about his body. The 6 then robbed him of his car keys and Samsung cell phone and told him to leave. The man then went back to Edward Street, but his car was not there. He also called FCB's call center and was told that 6,000 TT dollars had been withdrawn from his bank account. How the guy's pin? Nisi says, what you think he leave the bar to go and get Nathan? Well, I don't know. Maybe they wanted to smoke a cigarette in the bar and it didn't have any lighters in the bar or something. And they were going home by the man to get a lighter. Maybe. How they know where his car... Real questions. How they know where his car was. How they know what the pin for his bank account was. Like 6,000. How do you withdraw $6,000 from just a random bank card? Something strange. There seems to be missing information from this story. Brethren, how they know where your car was? How they withdraw the 6,000? Aisha says they really went to spark stuff up. Sparks. What do you mean by that? Yeah, maybe, yeah. Light up, and you know, just probably smoke a cigarette or something. Maybe that was their vice. I don't know. The guy, maybe he left the stove on home and he went home to make sure. That's what he told the guy. He was going home to check to make sure that the stove was off before they plan to return to the bar. Probably, I don't know. Crude Oil says he wanted a ghetto. Listen, this really seems like somebody who had a fantasy in their head, you know? Like somebody had a fantasy that they saw in a movie somewhere that they were going to go into the plannings and receive whatever fantastic stuff they had in their imagination. Because I just don't see what your expectation was. Nisi says that probably wasn't his first time. Well, then that would make sense. Well, then that would make perfect sense, Nisi. Because he kind of seemed like he know the ropes a little bit. Parked by... Anybody know this Fagu's bar? Chris Xavier says 5,000 is the limit. I want to know how they took out $6,000. That's very curious. But anybody knows this Fagoose bar? Is it a Fagoose bar? Because if the bar is a regular area for such activity, it could be that, he really is accustomed to doing this. This is his normal prowl. He parks by the police headquarters, goes into the bar, finds somebody, heads back to wherever, smokes the cigarette, and then goes home. That could probably be his normal route, and somebody marked him on his normal route. Because that just real brave. That just real brave. Nisi says if it's Prince Street, that ain't no proper bar. Hey, I don't know how people brave, so like, I am not the biggest limer, but I feel like if I wanted to lime, East Port of Spain wouldn't have been my favorite area. What am I, as a Shogunist man, what you doing in East Port of Spain, bro? He wasn't the only one on that ridiculous stuff. This week we had another one too. Moruga man robbed of iPhones in Port of Spain. Another genius. Police continue to warn the public about being careful when buying and selling items online after a Moruga man was robbed of 2 iPhones on Tuesday when he attempted to sell the items to a man in East Port of Spain. Like, bro, you from Moruga? What you doing in East Port of Spain? Like, how do people believe this? How do people get convinced of this? If I want to sell my goods and you tell me meet you in East Port of Spain, I will say no. Meet me in West Port of Spain or somewhere else. I am not meeting you in East Port of Spain to sell you anything. What is wrong with these people? Police said the victim, 21, little boy, journeyed from his St. Mary's Village, Moruga home, and was supposed to have met the suspect at the corner of Duke and Charlotte Street around 1:30 p.m. Brother man, you're arranging a meet to sell your stuff. You coming from St. Mary's, Moruga. I don't know how many of y'all know your Trinidad geography. St. Mary's, Moruga is far. That is one of those places they call behind God back. That is far. St. Mary's, Moruga is the kind of place, if you're driving from, let's say in a middle-ish area, you're coming from St. Augustine and you're going to St. Mary's, Moruga. You reach San Fernando and you now start driving. So brother man come from St. Mary's, Moruga, born in town, for a meeting on the corner of Duke and Charlotte Street. And Aisha were wrong. But the Duke and Charlotte is not even the worst. You all hear this? Listen to these geniuses. When he arrived at the location, the buyer was not there. He phoned him. Ali, listen to this. Listen to this, Ali. He phoned him, and the man told him, he lured him deeper into East Port of Spain by asking him to meet him at Piccadilly Street. And he went And he went. Like, I not meeting you. I not. Charlotte Street is too far east for me to do a meeting, sir. Sir, no meeting. No meeting on Charlotte Street. There's nothing for me to go on Charlotte Street to get in the first place. I have no reason to be there. You want to meet? Why we can't meet on Frederick? Frederick is the eye. Why we can't meet? Why we can't meet by downtown KFC? Why? What wrong with KFC? What wrong with the Brian Lara Promenade? Try Woodford Square now. Try meeting at Woodford. Try meeting at the police headquarters on the other side of Woodford Square. There's a police headquarters in Porter. Here what, bro? Meet me downstairs. The Nallis Library, sir. The big white library. Meet me in front of the library. Right there. Duke and Charlotte. What? Wait, the corner of Duke and Charlotte wasn't where the youth man selling the juice get murdered? It wasn't on the corner of Duke and Charlotte? That wasn't the location of the murder? This is where a youth man just get murdered there. A youth man just get murdered. The footage was around the whole country. Brother, sir. I want to sell you these iPhones, eh? I don't really know Porter Spain all that well. If you have enough money to pay the thousands of dollars for an iPhone, why you can't meet me down south? Like earlier, Moruga so far, San Fernando might really be meeting him halfway. Tell them meet you by San Fernando on top of High Street by KFC now, bro. Area that you know. At least you're familiar with the taxi men around you or something. What you doing? Duke and Charlotte. And then, you call the man. Out here, boy. But I ain't seen you where. And he tells you, just walk across Duke there now. Come down wrong the bridge. Wrong the bridge. You'll pass a big dry river. Yeah. Pass the dry river. Cross Piccadilly. Piccadilly. You know that name? The name is here in the news. Yeah. Yeah, where had the shooting recently now by Piccadilly right there? Right, walk down Piccadilly and you'll see me. What? How that happening? How you guide me to walk down Piccadilly, brother? Sir, sometimes, let me be big to big with y'all. If the traffic too sticky, I not even driving through Piccadilly to go out at Port of Spain. I rather come through somewhere by Hyatt there and join the main road there and go down on the highway. If the traffic too sticky, I not even driving through by Piccadilly. How are you walking from Charlotte to Piccadilly? Nah, man. Like, I even reached to read what happened to the man, but everybody know what happened to the man. Everybody know. The victim walked over where he finally met the buyer. While talking to him, the buyer telephoned another man who later arrived armed with a gun and turned the potential sale into a robbery. Listen, this fella's stupid, boy. Hey, somebody, if this is your son, they need help. They need real help. This fella too stupid to let out alone out of the house. You're not supposed to let he out alone. No. This fella, He's the kind of fella, he might drown himself if he take a big gulp of water or something. This fella can't be very intelligent. This has me questioning where a guy like this gets two iPhones, an iPhone 12 Pro and an iPhone 11 Pro Max. Nah. Where a fella this silly getting this phone? You cannot be this stupid and get these phones, man. How you get these phones? As a police officer, if I hear this story now, that's my next question. Sir? You seem to be mentally handicapped. How did you come to acquire these two cell phones? Because something isn't adding up here. No, they didn't mention his name, darling. They just said a 21-year-old from St. Mary's, Moruga. Like, bro, he had wrong steps. First up, you leave St. Mary's, Moruga to come Port of Spain. Then from Port of Spain, you found yourself in East Port of Spain. Wrong move. From East Port of Spain, already the wrong move. You find yourself calling the man. The man didn't show up. And you find yourself calling the man and he's telling you go to another location. Wrong move again. If I arrange a location with you to sell a product, and I come to the location and you are not there and I call you and you're telling me about another location. Red flag. Go home. But no, up till now, the red flag ain't gone up yet. Going down Piccadilly. Next red flag, but okay. You meet the man. It's not even like when you meet the man, he rob you. Listen, next thing the man didn't really have intention of robbing him. Next thing the man didn't really have intention of robbing him. Because he meet the man. Show the man the phone. The man had time to make a call. He wait on the fella who the man called to come. What's wrong with you, boy? He meet the man. The man himself, the buyer didn't rob him. The buyer made a call. And call a next man. The seller stand up and wait for the next man to come from wherever he come from. And when the next man reach, then you get robbed. Nah, man. Nah. As I saying, next thing it was homeboy didn't really even plan to rob him. Homeboy really was going and buy the two iPhone. No, I could be homeboy advocate. I transform him myself. I'm my wife beaters, my 3/4, and a black Air Force. But I ain't come to rob. I have my money. I want my iPhones. I buy now a pair of iPhones, one for me and one for my child mother. You understand? Alright. So I call the man, I tell him meet me Duke and Charlotte. But when I call him and I see him Duke now, boy, I feel the man see him on Duke and Charlotte. This is my theory. I'm saying my theory here. We don't know about the facts. This is my theory. Homeboy see him on Duke and Charlotte, eh? But you see this fella look a little too baby, boy. This fella look baby. Like I was going and buy it from you on Duke and Charlotte, boy. Look a little baby. So I say, let me see now, boy. Let me see. So I call you, I watching you while I call you, I say, hey, come down Piccadilly and meet me now. I thinking you're going and say, nah boy, me going. And if you say, nah boy, me going, I'll walk up and meet you and buy the phone. But when I hear you say yes, I say, well, alright, bet. I wouldn't doubt. Bandit was shocked. Bandit was surprised. Nah, I know on Duke and Charlotte. I don't on Piccadilly. Walk down on Piccadilly and meet me now. Okay. What you say there? Okay. Alright. The man come in, innit? I sure Bandit was shocked. First time that line ever work. So wait. He leaving Charlotte and coming on Piccadilly? I wonder if the bandit tried that line on other people before. He must be surprised. As a bandit, if I was a bandit residing around the Piccadilly and environs, I would be shocked. I would be stunned. He's coming? Okay. Yeah, the man must be telling himself, Charlotte a little too open to rob and police always passing there. So he bring you down in the hole and you come down in the hole. When you come down, he watching the phone. He's still second guessing if to rob you because he had the money. He could buy your phone. But when he recognize, well, wait, nah, this fella real stupid, boy. But I don't even want to rob you. Wait there now. Hey, Harry. Come and put on a walk day for me now. Wait there. Somebody coming. I don't understand. Maybe he and Grinder Man were brothers. One from Moruga, one from Shogunas. One come to East Port of Spain for love, one come to cell phone. And both end up with the same result. People, well, crude oil, it's kind of funny that you say that coming from the previous story. I don't know if you were here when we were talking about the previous story, but the previous story was someone seeking exactly that kind of activity. I'm just saying, someone went seeking just that. And it seemed like they didn't find it. Hyperspeed said the man probably need money and afraid people. First time he probably selling items. Okay, I can understand need money, but if you're afraid people, how you going on Piccadilly? I don't understand if you afraid people. Listen, if I afraid people, I telling you, meet me, as I said, meet me inside the library. Meet me inside the library now. Nah, I kind of bum me, boy. This the first time I selling something, no. Meet me inside the library now. Like, Citygate sketchy. Personally, I don't want to meet any stranger in Citygate to do anything. But Citygate's still better than East Port of Spain. Like, meeting at KFC, meeting at Rituals, at least let them have to open the door and run out now. Don't make the robbery super easy. Oh gosh, man. Nisi says meet me in the police station. Well, you know, I remember the mindful jerseys, I do sell them still. A mindful t-shirt I was selling to positive radiation. We sit down here and talk to each other online and stuff. Positive, come to Trinidad to get a jersey and we meet by the police station. Nothing wrong with that. Like, what wrong with that? Meet by the police station now. Blessings, Rival Nation. That teacher from Shogunas, he removed his resume. I don't know what you're talking about. Meet me Sando police station. Exactly. Guy doesn't know Port of Spain and wants to go back home and coast I gone tongue alone and cell phone. Well, you could coast now. You had an experience. You went tongue in the dark side of tongue and you came out alive. You could, that's a story. That's a story. You might be able to tell your grandchildren that. When I was young and stupid, fellas. Trini Mike says, imagine still getting robbed outside the station. Now, Trini Mike, I understand that's possible. This is Trinidad, and I think, like, I heard that happen before, actually. So, yes, you could get robbed outside. Hey, on the highway. I was telling them someone pulled up on me on the highway. I was, what going on here? Big up, man, Rival Nation. Yeah, you could, I know it's possible to get robbed outside the station, but, I mean, if you have to work at probability, what's the probability I get robbed outside police headquarters versus the probability I get robbed on Piccadilly? What you doing on Piccadilly? I wonder if my foot has walked the road of Piccadilly anytime within the last decade. I think at least 10 years my foot hasn't touched that. What am I walking on Piccadilly for? Anyway, people, you see that? Like every week it have a couple of them, and every week there's a couple of them, and it's nearly always eSport Spain. It's nearly always eSport. I don't understand. Maybe it's a thrill-seeking thing. So everybody wants to see if they could make the sale. Well, I guess you can't. It have anywhere safe in Trinity to Lime in the night. Safe is a relative term, eh? The Avenue, it seemed like a lot of those gangsters these days like to Lime on the Avenue, making the whole thing a sketchy experience. Nisi says once they're at police station and they know they're up to no good, they more than likely won't come. Exactly. Like if Duke and Charlotte is too open and public for you, then that's a red flag. Dalip says a partner walking down High Street with all he goal, a man raff him into a hole, clean him out. Oh good. Hyperspeed says, would you do a sale in the B-thumb? Hey, you know, I have a cousin that does sales of various things, and I did a delivery once to the B-thumb, you know. I did a delivery. But a delivery to the B-thumb, and it was a woman selling woman's goods, is a different thing. I am passing on the highway, waiting for you to walk out. If you're not already out, I am passing. If I see you out, slow down, just stop, here you go, and I'm gone. That's still easier. I mean, that have its dangers, but that's still easier. If you tell me, make a delivery and stop on 7th Street and walk in, and you see that truck on the left, walk in the truck, the first blue house, like, sir, what am I doing here? Wonder when Beetham getting their walkover. Nisi. But walkover to where though? I mean walk over the highway to the dump? I don't think they're going to do that. Aisha says, I just personally find if you have money to buy 2 iPhones, you have money to come Sando and meet me. Facts. It's like those, it's the way you tell a lot of the cons, you know. Like those people, those cons, the Nigerian princes and all those weirdos who come to tell you they have a $3 million for you. But all you have to do to activate your possibility of getting this money is you must first send them a couple dollars for processing. Listen, if you're going to give me $1 million, take a couple of the million and use it. So if you're wealthy enough to jump out and buy 2 iPhones, I would suppose the least you could do is jump out and reach down south. 2 iPhones are more than the price to travel to south. More than the price of the gas to south. I would suppose you are capable of reaching to south. If you want the phones that badly. You see, that shows a kind of dynamic. Eh? It nearly seems like the seller is more desperate to sell than the buyer. If you are a seller more desperate to sell than the buyer, you are basically a piper. And you see how pipers are dealt with when they make sales. You can't be selling something and more desperate to sell it than the person is to buy it. You must find yourself in trouble. Must. All right. Price Plaza. Yeah, that is normal. Like, I mean, you could rub me in Price Plaza a little thing, but still, familiar places now, boy. At least places eSport Spain. Good grief. People, that's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. At least educated enough to never go eSport Spain looking to sell something. Until the next Mindful Live, that's all I have for now, folks. I'll see you guys again for the next Mindful Live, which is going to be tomorrow evening around that 9:30 p.m. time. Until then, people, hold it down. Stay well. Speaking of the plaza, Nisi said, hey, regularly I see him, the mister, regularly down in the plazas. I just say I'm not passing Sando from Maruga. Price Plaza, none. Listen, I think many people, I think many people don't even know how fast St. Mary's Moruga is. You know? If you know how fast St. Mary's Moruga is, you're even more vexed with the fella. Because he probably spent, it's probably $100. If he traveled, it's probably easily $100. Alright, people, I'm gone. I'm out. Stay safe, stay well. Bye. Hold it down.